quick meeting, call tomorrow, all of this kind of stuff. What that screams is cold email.
Yeah.
Like it just screams cold email. So what I want you to think about is how can I replicate the internal email style that that prospect experiences?
First, just really pour out your thoughts, craft your email, then come back to the subject, where then you can get a little creative or bold in certain situations. What do you think about that method?
I love it because if you think about the subject line, it's literally a preview of what the rest of the email entails. So you can think of it as kind of like a mini, like a trailer, so to speak. So if you saw a trailer and it was completely unrelated to the movie, you might be pretty mad, like when you go watch the movie.
Yeah,
Or the
100%.
opposite is that the trailer might do the movie a disservice and not get you excited about it. So yeah, picking out things from the email and putting it in there and giving a preview is a really good best practice for sure.
I love that comparison to a movie because it's exactly right. And you also don't want to give too much away. So don't congest your subject line with such a long sentence or paragraph, even. I've seen some crazy things come across my inbox. Just make it short, sweet, but don't give too much away. Tease it a little bit. Yeah, I'm definitely the same way there. But I definitely think subject lines, they're such a key piece to it because this is where you can really craft what's the message you're trying to get around, but also convey at the same time. So is it curiosity? Is it personalization, timing, urgency, all those different things? That's where you, as a salesperson, especially, you have the liberty of really crafting how you want to structure this email and really make your prospect feel and what you're going to get into. I will say, we're writing cold emails. Don't go throwing a big sign up though that says, "Hey, I'm trying to sell you." So, Jack, want to boost your replies? Question mark. Probably not the best way to start off on the wrong foot because at the end of the day, people aren't reading at this point. They're skimming. Like I think Jason, you and I talked about this previously, but you know, everyone's getting a ton of emails now. The last thing they're doing is reading every single one. They're just trying to navigate through their inbox. So what's good? What's unique? What's different? Maybe I should look into it further. So that's the way I look at it. Like in a way, they're not reading just yet. They're just skimming through. So how can you make it to where they want to click into your email and see more?
So a simple kind of principle. So I asked people in the chat, I don't know if you see it, Jack, like what subject lines do you use? Okay.
Love it.
One of the things that I would point out about most of the subject lines here is it's very like call to action oriented. So in other words, like you're asking the person to do something in a lot of these quick meeting, call tomorrow, all of this kind of stuff. What that screams is cold email.
Yeah.
Like it just screams cold email. So what I want you to think about is how can I replicate how like the internal email style that that prospect experiences. Okay. I'll give you a really practical example. So Rita, who's been awesome helping us with like all of the marketing components of this webinar, subject line she used when she sent over the slides was webinar presentation. There's two words, really simple, straight to the point, no mystery around what it is. And I'm personally a big fan of those types of subject lines where instead of trying to be really creative or asking for something in the subject line, let's try to put something in that subject line that's top of mind for that individual based on research that we did or based on what people like them tend to care about. And I call them boring subject lines.
That's
Those are
awesome.
that I see that tend to have the highest open rates.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that and heard that because everyone, I feel, when people think of personalization or, trying to craft the perfect email, they get really hung up on just making it overly done.
Yeah.
Less is more in these cases, and less can mean boring. Like boring actually works to some degree. And then actually, I want to go back to our presentation because Jason shared a really good diagram that actually goes through some of these really good ones that are working for most. Jason, do any of these from your teams, like which ones I guess are your like best ones if you were to choose that you've seen the team be successful with?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what you're selling, right? So I think there's three kinds of areas where you can make a boring subject line. So the kind of principle here is I know you guys got a ton of data on this. There's a bunch of other folks that have data on length of subject line. And what they'll all tell you is that like under 4 or 5 words is going to have the highest open rate. So what we're looking for is like what will drive the subject matter of those 3 to 5 words, or one word subject lines work pretty good too. So you can think about, is there an area where I help? Don't think about your solution. Think about what your solution will get. So in the case of Mixmax, don't put sales engagement or email automation in the subject line. It's meetings,
Hmm.
replies, right? That
Yeah,
kind of common problems. Low email reply rates or low response rates I put in there, right? So what's a
love
common
it.
problem that you solve? So I'll give you another example. A customer that I work with helps contact centers reduce their cost to serve. So they work with huge companies, a lot
Sure.
of the Fortune 5,000, and a lot of the waste that these contact centers experience is when someone goes to the support page, they can't find an answer to their question. Like, think about what it's like to work with the TSA
Oh
or
yeah,
government agencies. Like when you're trying to find something online, it's like impossible to find it because it's like a mess,
totally.
right?
It's a
So those
mess.
people end up calling in, and imagine when you have thousands of people calling into a contact center, like just cramming up all the inbound lines with the customer support reps, and you don't know the reason why they're calling in and how to prevent it,
Oh yeah.
right? So like the subject line could be long wait times, couldn't get a hold of support. You know what I mean? Like there's
Oh yeah.
very specific things that you can do that are like related to the reason why you're reaching out. The big thing that they want to do is reduce cost to serve. So that could be a subject line,
Oh yeah,
reducing
for
cost
sure.
to serve.
Yeah, we're the
At
same. That's such a good way of thinking about it, because obviously in the the rest of the email you're going to get to those outcomes whatever it may be, but get to it in the subject line so then you could really hit home, because everyone for the most part has very similar things that they're wanting to help you do: boost more revenue, replies, meetings. But what's the end goal for the person you're reaching out to? Think about how you could put that in your subject line that may be different from just your stereotypical problems you're solving, or things like that. So that's a really good way of putting that.
That's probably the most effective one right there. If there's commonality in the problems that the people that you serve like have, like putting that into the subject line is a big one. I'll give you guys one other tip is think about what is like really prevalent in their industry. So I had a client that sold an automated welding solution into like really large manufacturers. And the number one challenge they have is like welding talent. So almost all of them had like ads open to find qualified welders.
Yeah.
And they have a way of fixing it with automation, right? But the subject line was one word. It was welders, lowercase, 90+% open rate. So like just think about it. You
Awesome.
don't have to be overly creative here. If there's something like industry wide that's going on in the verticals and you can help with something related to that, that could be your subject line too.
Yep. Simpler the better.